Hello, everyone. This is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there. Hello, everyone. This is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there.
My name is Richard Ferrer, and I can say I am cloud hired.
That yes, come and join and get cloud hired. I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
Hey, Go Cloud Architect family. I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired, guys.
So I'll just say I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired thanks to Go Cloud Architects.
It worked for me, and now I'm cloud hired. Because of Google Architect program,
I am cloud hired.
See!
I am cloud hired. Thank you, Mike and the GlowCloud team.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Q&A session here at Go Cloud Careers. My name is Chris Johnson. As you can see, I'm kind of fading in and out. I broke my green screen yesterday, so I'm using the virtual background. But I'm Chris Johnson. I've got Mike Gibbs. You can't see me pointing. There's Mike Gibbs over there. I've got Alonzo Coleman below. So welcome to our cloud architect, cloud engineer, career training, and Q&A session. So what we want to do here, we always want to help you and help the community reach your dream of a cloud engineer career, cloud architect career. So if you've got any questions about the cloud architect job, the cloud architect training, cloud architect career development, or any cloud computing career training, feel free to bring us those. We specialize in cloud architects, but we can help answer some questions as it relates to cloud engineers and maybe some DevOps questions. We have people that we recommend for different things. So if you bring us something we're not experts at, we'll point you in the right direction. So again, if you've got any questions, anything from what is a cloud architect and what is a cloud engineer to how to become a cloud architect or how to become a cloud engineer, make sure to ask us those questions in the chat box. So let's talk about a couple of things that we've got that I just want to make sure that you're all aware of. And I think a member of our team, will be posting these corresponding things in the chat box. So we normally have a Thursday how to get your first cloud job webinar. We had one yesterday, but next week it will actually be on Tuesday, with Thanksgiving being on Thursday here in the United States. Next week, we're going to be doing this on Tuesday. So want to make sure you register for that. I believe Collins or Leah will be putting the link for that in the chat box. You can also find the link in the description. That's always a good webinar. What we do there is we talk about everything that you actually need to know to become the ultimate cloud architect, as we put it. We talk about why we created our program, what, does experience really matter? What level of experience do I need? What hiring managers want? What the actual cloud architect role is, how to deal with HR and those crazy job descriptions that want everything from, 15 certifications and 35 years of Kubernetes experience. And 25 Olympic gold medals. So I see Collins put the link over there in the chat box. He didn't say what the link was, but that link there that you see, the Demio link, is the link to register for the webinar. So make sure to sign up for that. And then, of course, you'll be able to ask us any questions specifically about your career and your development. So make sure to register for that, and it'll be a great time. And that'll be on Tuesday next week. There we go, Leo. There we go. A little context there. All right. So the next thing I want to make sure you know of is we've got our new and updated free AWS exam guide. And you can also get that at the link in the description, and there'll be a link in the chat box as well. This is something that we updated for the most recent versions of the AWS architect certifications. So make sure you get your free copy. Hundreds of years of experience went into the creation of this. We had hundreds of contributors with combined hundreds of years of experience and knowledge that was put into this book. And it's free for you to take advantage of. So make sure to get that. And then, of course, we're always trying to keep everybody up to date with everything that we're doing. So make sure you follow Mike and Go Cloud Careers on our LinkedIn. And make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell here on YouTube. When I logged in and started up the stream, I saw we were at 39,700. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to make a challenge just out of the blue. Let's get us to 40,000 by Black Friday so a week from today. Challenge is out there, and we'll get us to 40,000 by Friday of next week. I think we can do it. So that's everything that I've got. So I look forward to bringing in the questions, everybody. So make sure you bring in the questions. Alonzo, you want to share anything while we're waiting on questions to come in?
Well, I definitely, per like yesterday when we had our webinar, there's definitely people that said they wanted to call. Please don't feel nervous. Please reach out to me. We left our numbers. We really want to get you cloud hired. We want you to experience your best cloud career ever. So please, I'm looking forward to talking with you all and getting you geared up to become our students at Go Cloud Careers.
You know what? That actually makes me think. Mike just made a post this morning. So in case you're wondering why Mike's not doing a lot of talking, Mike isn't talking timeout. So he gets to talk a little bit, but he's been doing a lot of writing. And Mike made a post this morning on LinkedIn that I want to share with everybody. And it blows my mind. It's not the first time that this has happened, but somebody reached out to us to ask us to train them on the cloud so that they could teach their AWS course that they're already selling on Udemy. And it's
mind blowing.
Mind blowing. So you want us to teach you the cloud so that you can teach something that you're already selling, but apparently don't have the competency to be able to teach.
Yeah.
So Mike made a post about that. I'm going to post a bit.ly link.
I mean, to be fair, it horrified me, and it happens all the time. Here, I'm selling an AWS course. I've got 2 courses on Udemy, but please teach me the cloud because I don't know it.
And be a competitor.
Yeah.
I don't even care if I wanted to be a competitor, but the reality is what can you teach if you need somebody to train you on it? So, here's what happens. People suffer. People spend 6 months of their time, and the average cloud architect earns $12,000 a month. So they try to save a couple of bucks. They go to Udemy. They're taught by somebody that's never done it, that needs to be instructed. They lost they won't get hired by any of it. And then next thing you know, they lost $72,000 of income. So look at the source. When you research a material, look at the source. Is it coming from a mom and pop blog, or is it coming from Cisco? Consider the source. Always consider the expertise. It takes 10,000 hours minimum to become an expert on one little tiny domain. You can't just take a cert and teach it. So we want the best for you. So ask us your questions so we can help build your career.
Yeah, make sure to ask us those questions. But yeah, that just blew my mind this morning. Like I said, I've seen it before. I'm just surprised. It was like, all right, we got to say something about it.
Yeah, and I was just thinking about the vetting process for you to even have the platform to do so. That's of concern for me.
So, let's see. So Vivek doesn't really have much of a question, but here's some information they shared. AZ 900, AZ 104, AZ 305, but no experience. I am an IT consultant, but have an interview on Tuesday for a cloud architect. Oof. I'm not sure, Mike. I'll let you.
I'll touch this. So Vivek, I don't know what you're doing right now. And if you tell us, we can potentially guide you on the interview. I also want you to look at a video that I did with Alonzo that talked about the 10x AWS certified person versus the competent person. What's taught in certifications has zero to do with what we do as cloud architects, which is design, present, and sell. In the certifications, it's the name of a service and how to configure that. But architects don't do that. We don't touch the technology. So Vivek, if hopefully what you have, and I want you to communicate this on this interview, is what we do is digital transformation. So, and you said you're a consultant, and that could be anything. You could be a management consultant, in which case you're going to be very well prepared, or you could just be a software developer, in which case it's something far away. But let's talk about what the skills that you need. You're going to need some executive communication skills, so make sure you make that very clear on the interview that you have them, but in the way you communicate. You're going to need some CXO relevancy skills because you're going to be presenting into the CXO leaders like the CEO. You're going to need a lot of business acumen, because what we do is we take a business problem and come up with a technology solution. So when a customer tells you about a revenue problem or a productivity problem, you must exactly know what that actually means. Beyond that, you're going to be writing thought leadership documents in the role. So maybe you've got some sample of your writing or something that you can talk about or point to that shows how good of a writer you are. Now, as an architect, we typically meet with a client and then build a team of 30 to 50 people to help design architecture. Then we document it, and then we write it up, and then we present it back. Hopefully, Vivek, you've responded to some RFIs, RFPs, or RFQs, or have some training in there, because you're going to need to convince the hiring manager of those things. Now, on the tech side, Nobody cares if you're certified. In fact, I speak to hiring managers every single day, and they say, Mike, I don't want paper certified people. I want people that actually know how to design and architecture. And I don't want a techie. I want a leader as my person. So make sure your knowledge is good and brushed up on servers and server virtualization and containers and container orchestration and your storage area and networks, whether it be block storage, object storage, and file storage. Make sure you're in a great position to talk about load balancers and DNS policies and high availability things. And here's the secret. You can't do high availability on a single cloud. And every customer knows that 80% of customers are on 2 clouds. The rest desire to be. Make sure you've got some good understanding of hybrid clouds as well as multi-cloud environments, because organizations found, hey, wait, we're going to go to the cloud. It's cheaper. And we said, no. Some things in the cloud are cheaper. Other things in the cloud are more expensive. And organizations went straight to the cloud for things which were better in the data center. Now they're coming back off. So it's going to be a private cloud in the data center. So make sure you understand those hybrid cloud things. Make sure you also understand security things. And the security things are not things like you'd see in your cert. They're your next generation firewalls and your demilitarized zone design and your security policy and your user training, like your anti-malware training, those kind of things, your end-to-end encryption strategy. Make sure you've got a good knowledge of networking when you go there, with regards to BGP, OSPF to some degree, IP addressing, subnetting, and supernetting, VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, spanning tree, those kind of things on the switching side, one-to-one net, one-to-many net, static net, dynamic net compat. So you make sure you can show that you understand these and actually have the architectural experience to take a business problem and come up with a solution. And at all times, we've got about 20 videos on how to answer solution architect or cloud architect questions on here. Watch those videos so you don't give a certification answer. And hopefully, I wish you the best of luck on this interview.
All right. So let's see here. Let's get to the next question here. So Carlo asks, my background as a sysadmin going to help me become a cloud architect? Before Mike answers, Alonzo, do you want to talk about experience and whether experience matters and how much it means, your previous work and previous life?
Yeah, well, you know what? As a person who initially was not a lover of cloud, originally my experience was in marketing. So let's think about let's unpack your background as sys administrator. So you think about running systems. You think about what it takes to be dedicated and looking at the details so that you can understand a situation, so that you can maintain a situation. Think about how that prior experience you can use as a foundation to communicate, to be able to break down certain problems that you may come across, to be able to communicate real-time scenarios that are happening on a day-to-day basis so that you can document onto the next team or onto the next particular group of individuals on that next shift. So think about how you're able to leverage what you're doing now when it comes to details, communication skills, and so forth, and underpin that with the newer cloud technology and competency with that. So it's going to be a real formidable combination of skill set that you can use to push forward. So we all underscore and we all communicate that there's always going to be something in your prior career, in your prior jobs, in your prior experiences that you can use to leverage as a cloud architect, using communication, the ability to pivot in a room full of people that you may not know about, to be able to try to read the room, understand what a folded arm looks like, what a wandering eye may look like, and be able to adjust your conversation moving forward. So overall, yes, you're going to be able to leverage any of your sysadmin competency when it comes to communication and other skill sets for a cloud architect position and career.
So there is that component with the sysadmin background. You typically understand some Linux things or Windows, which is good. You typically understand NFS shares and SMB shares, whether they be things like Samba, etc. So that's great. You typically understand identity and access management fairly well because people in this. The problem is when they're looking for an architect, they don't want an engineer or an admin person. So what you have to do is, first, you've got a lot of good skills, which we love. But you're going to have to show the hiring manager you are not an admin, because there's a bias against admins. There's a bias against engineers when it comes to being an architect. You would think that the more technical you are, the more likely you are to be hired. But it's not that. This is a position of where they require a lot of je ne sais quoi, gravitas. They're really looking for a business leader that knows technology. So your advantage that you know technology. Your resume will need a lot of tuning to show that you're not a sysadmin. So you may have implemented a new Active Directory structure for IAM for an organization. So instead of talking about how you configured it or administered it, you can talk about what that did for the business. Did it reduce security events, for example? So there's things like that. If you set up new servers and file sharing things, did it decrease downtime? Did it improve user performance? So what you need to do, Carlo, is also learn design, because configuration unfortunately doesn't teach design, but you need to show that you're the leader and the outcomes of what you did, as opposed to the hands-on piece of what you've done. That's kind of the biggest thing. They want to make sure that you don't sound like an engineer when you talk. And that's something that you're going to have to work past. Now, reality is, if you're a good sysadmin, you've got good communication skills, and here's the reason why. You need the requirements to do your job. But the perception may be that you don't, because they're typically looking for a sales rep and a lab coat. That's kind of the best definition I can describe an architect. Executive that still knows the tech. So yes, you are advantaged because you know a lot of these things that will be very helpful to you. But you'll also have to swap your brand, which is the hardest thing. We could help you with your branding easily. We've got a lot of experience taking engineers and turning them into architects, and admins and turning them into architects. Then again, we've experienced taking psychologists and geologists and medical professionals and stay-at-home moms and getting them their first cloud architect job. And you can see many examples of people that never worked in tech, and we still got cloud architect jobs. One person didn't even graduate high school. His name was Daniel Basso. He's impressive. You can see Delroy Bat this week. He had an associate degree. He's now working as a cloud security architect. So Carla, yes, it's an advantage. But here's the difference where I want to make it kind of clear. When it comes to configuration roles, we're typing stuff on the computer. Kind of like construction. It's like using a hammer to build a house. Unfortunately, configuration does not teach us design. So we systems designers don't touch the tech. So if you're working on Linux things, great. Bring it up a notch. Think about what the Linux kernel actually does and how it manages memory. Think about the Linux hypervisors and how and why they work. So when we're dealing with a situation regarding virtualization, do we use a KVM or a QEMU, for example? Or do we use a VMware hypervisor? Or should this go to the cloud? Should we build an OpenStack cloud? And as a sysadmin, you're going to be really strong there. So the key is to mine all those great experiences you have while being trained. But you will need good training to go from sysadmin to solution architect or cloud architect, because you're going to need the business acumen. You're going to need the sales training, the leadership training, the emotional intelligence, executive presence training. And then you're going to need the design training as well, because configuration is construction and design is something different. But Carlo, it's going to be very helpful to you in the long term.
Hey team, what certification would you recommend for someone new to the cloud? That's from Tom Sawyer. I like the name.
Oh, Tom.
Oh, no, Mike. No.
No.
Alonzo.
Okay. Certifications. Tom, what we stress here at Go Cloud Careers is competency over certification. So you have to be competent in the cloud, not certified in any particular cloud service provider. What I'd like to share is that understanding the agnostic cloud is more important than a cloud service provider's interpretation of services that they offer multiple organizations. So say and another example with that is you're focused on like cloud service providers, they're going to promote, extend, communicate that their cloud service providers are the end all to be all. In this industry, there are multiple organizations that do not rely solely on one cloud, to their detriment if they do. because you don't want to have a one exit, one entrance into a burning building, right? So the same thing with here. You want to have multiple clouds so that you can support high availability, high redundancy. The same thing with that is that if you are say for instance, a specific cloud service provider, what if they're focused on multi-cloud service support for their organization outside of the realm of expertise that you spent years, months on focusing for that particular certification? Not only is that not real world knowledge, real world competency, but you just nixed yourself out of potential opportunity because you pigeonhole yourself on this particular cloud service provider certification. So here we teach the agnostic cloud that they all rely on. So I would definitely focus on your competency, focus on what the cloud is, what it does, and when you would use it, and to be able to substantiate that tech for more robust features, more robust options that a lot of these cloud service providers don't have for their particular services. So I hope I answered your question.
And Tom, it's about learning the cloud versus learning any vendor's thing. If you got into a car and you took a certification to drive a Toyota, and they used funny buzzwords like elastic rotational vehicular angular changer for a steering wheel, and then you jumped in a Mercedes and there was a label on something that said turning device, you wouldn't know what it is. So Tom, I want you to learn the cloud. What is a cloud? It's a network and a data center. That's it. No different. I've been working on cloud since 1996. They're all the same. They're networks and data centers that are virtualized. So I recommend that you learn the cloud. And if you need a certification, once you know the cloud, you can do it in a day or two. But if you try to do the certifications without understanding what's going on underneath, it'll take you months to do a single certification and you won't even know what it is. All the certification is the name of a proprietary service and how to configure that service. So for example, there's a certification provider out there that's got a $2,000 boot camp. It's absolutely ridiculous to pass the Certified Solution Architect Associate. And he made this post. He said, I taught my people how to configure high availability web systems by using 2 availability zones and CloudFront. And here's the problem, Tom Sawyer. You can't build a high availability system on CloudFront. Even AWS does not follow their own instructions in their certification. They use 3 content delivery networks that I know about, Fastly, Akamai, as well as CloudFront. And see what's taught in the certification you can't use. So for example, in a certification, they teach you to use AWS WAF. The reality is if you use AWS WAF, your replacement will thank you. And then they're going to use Palo Alto or Cisco or Checkpoint next generation firewalls because they're adaptive in nature. So the key is, first, learn the technology. I've got people getting hired as cloud architects with 0 certifications. And then, Tom Sawyer, once you know the technology and know what you want, then figure out exactly the job you want. And then from there, do whatever professional certification makes sense, whether it's the Azure Solutions Architect Expert or the AWS Certified Solutions Architect Professional, because we want you to get one of them. Note, it will never get you hired, but it looks good on a resume. So first, learn the underlying tech, master the fundamentals, and then poof, you're ready to go.
All right, so let's see. Let's see. There's 22 people in here. A lot of you are being awfully quiet. So
come on, guys and gals, let everyone come on. Don't be shy.
Yeah.
This is the first step towards becoming a cloud architect, and that's with answering questions. So that's what we're here for all the time. Answer it, ask your questions, and either Mike, Chris, or myself will.
All right. So Paul says, hi, Mike. How long would you recommend attending your live classes for the architecture path?
Until you're hired.
Right. Yeah. Now you can wait your turn, Mike. So as Mike said, yes, until you're hired, or until you get bored because you know the solution before it's given.
Mm-hmm.
You know that's it's unique to every individual. Everybody's situation is different. I might learn faster than Alonzo. Alonzo might learn faster than Jonathan, and Jonathan might learn faster than Sarah. I don't know, but just making up names here. I'm horrible with names. They're so generic. But yeah, everyone's situation is different, and all the live classes are different. So, it's there's no one size fits all for the classes or for the student. If we had told somebody 3 months ago or 6 months ago that you only need to attend live classes for 4 months, and then after that 4 months is up, we have 3 of the best class scenarios that we've ever had, and the students have the most fun they've ever had, then that person just missed out because we gave them some arbitrary metric and arbitrary number. We have students, we call them students still, even though they're working, that come to class. And just because they want to come to class. And I'm talking about people like Praveen that you'll see on our channel sometimes, and he even leads some of our classes, and he's a lead architect at JP Morgan Chase, and he still comes to classes because he says, even though I've been a database architect for years and decades, and now I'm a lead architect, a cloud architect at the largest bank in the country, I still learn something from these classes sometimes. I'm always learning something. So, and as my dad says, the day you stop learning is the day you die. So there's no reason not to come to the classes if you're able to come to the classes. So that's my answer, and my time is going off, so I guess that's the end of my time. So Alonzo, do you have any thoughts on how long you should recommend somebody comes to classes?
How long do you want to stay educated? How long do you want to stay relevant? How long do you want to stay competent? So that's a perpetual learning experience. So that's the wonderful thing about Go Cloud Careers, is that we're not funneling new applicants, new hopefuls, new aspirants from one point to the other and then closing the door behind you. No, that's not what we do. What we want to do is educate and make all aspirants and hopefuls cloud competent, and that can stem from a minimum of a year, and it could be more, to ensure, especially in these economical times, to make sure that you have the competence that you need, that you have the experience that you need, that you have the support that you need in a consistent and continual community that's always focused on educating and being better than you were yesterday. So we have this Slack app where we have this global community, which is phenomenal. We have more than 2 or 3 dozen different channels to meet any specific subject matter that you're struggling with, that you want questions, you want to share knowledge, you want to get knowledge. It is this is community, this environment where you're always learning different things. So I would not say that you have a set time period of attending classes. Learn, absorb, and continue to do so that you can be the best cloud architect ever.
And my perspective is, look, we're not one of these organizations that charges you 10 grand for a 16-week boot camp and says, goodbye, we don't care what happens to you.
Yeah.
In fact, I had a student, Daniel Bosu. He spent $35,000 on some boot camp, and he was completely unhireable. And then we retrained him, and now he's working. But the point is we can't do that. Our job, our mission is to not only provide the world's best education, but to change your lives. And we let you stay in the program for a year. You don't need a year, but I don't care how long you stay in it. I just care that you're hired and have a great career. That's why Chris and I and Alonzo and all of the team care about your career. So stay in the program until you're hired, because that's the goal. The whole point of doing this is to build your career.
Yep. All right. So let's see here. The next question is, and unfortunately, I think Mike might need to start this one off. I'm not sure. I am a university student, beginner to cloud computing. Please give me an idea how to start.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question, because when it comes to architecting your career, when it comes to solving a problem, we need access to the right information. The question is, what would you like to do on the cloud? And the reason I say this is you could spend the next 1,000 years, and I'm not joking, and still not know all of the jobs in the cloud well enough to do them. So are you interested in being someone that's a software engineer on the cloud? If so, that's one pathway. A database engineer or administrator on the cloud, that's another pathway. A big data person on the cloud, another pathway. A cloud engineer, another pathway. A DevOps engineer, another pathway. A cloud architect or a solution architect like me, another pathway. A cloud network architect. So really what I want to know is what do you want to be? And if you tell me that, I can get you there. But imagine going to an airplane and saying, I'd like to fly somewhere. And I don't know whether you're going to end up in New Delhi, New Zealand, or New York until you tell me where you want to be. So tell me where you want to be, and we will help you build the plan to get to your best career. And Chris, if you want to move to the next one.
Oh, sorry about that. My camera started falling. So, all right, let's see. Next question. So, eMoney gets it in, says, I'm studying cloud architecture. And they've got the Security Plus yesterday. I now have the CompTIA trifecta. I'm now only studying AWS Solution Architect Associate and Cloud Architecture.
Okay, eMoney gets in. CompTIA does not teach architecture, nor does the AWS SAA. So where are you studying cloud architecture? So the question is, what are your goals? Architecture is system design. There's no system design in any of this. Are you somewhere where you're learning systems architecture? Are you somewhere where they're teaching you the presentation skills of an architect? Are you somewhere where they're teaching you the leadership skills? Are there somewhere where they're teaching you how to respond to an RFI, RFP, RFQ? Are you somewhere where they're teaching you end-to-end system design? And those types of things. I strongly recommend you don't get any more CompTIA certifications while we're at it. In most cases, we have to remove them from a person's resume when they want to be a solution architect. Now, we can keep the Security Plus, but the A Plus, Net Plus are typically designed for help desk or the Best Buy Geek Squad or things like that. And PC repair kind of things don't really relate to architecture. And if you have too many certifications, they're actually going to hurt you. So eMoney gets in, what are you doing for architecture? What are you doing to learn that data center? What are you doing to learn BGP? What are you learning to, for example, that? So tell me what you're studying, and then we can help guide you. But I want to make sure you're not trying to become a cloud architect by just doing certifications, because I don't want to see you waste 6 months, 9 months, or 2 years, and 2 years from now then say, I've got all these certifications, what do I do? And eMoney gets in, that's the most common problem we see.
Yeah.
Tell us what you're actually studying.
I guess this means I'll be learning from an experienced cloud architect. I won't be getting. I'm looking at my keyboard. Yeah, so that's going to be won't.
Yeah.
won't be
Any more CompTIA.
All right. Well, second part's good. First part, if they are an experienced cloud architect, great. That's what we need and want you to do. You need to learn from people that are doing the job or have done the job. So if that's your case and you've got that opportunity, perfect.
Yes.
The scary thing is that I don't know if they're truly experienced. So I hope they are. I hope they truly are.
That's the X factor.
Yep.
And a truly experienced architect will be a principal architect or a distinguished architect. They have to have a minimum of 10,000 hours of experience. And here's the reason why. We see lots of people that get hired that immediately get laid off if they're improperly trained.
Yep.
And if the person's not moving up or getting promoted, they're not good at their job. And they'll be teaching you things that are not good. So make sure that you get somebody like me that's got years and years of experience, that's had principal distinguished roles or director level roles. And if you found them, eMoney gets in, good. That's what it's going to take.
And to put that 10,000 hours of experience into perspective, that's 5 years minimum. So make sure you find that. Don't go with someone that's got 1 or 2 years of experience or if they've got 5 years of experience and you see 1 year here, 1 year here, 2 years here, 1 year here, 1 year, then
consistent 5 years.
Because that is indicative in this type of role. That's indicative of that was long enough, because these roles are what you can refer to as kind of like a slow burn role. They won't find out that you truly can't do the job immediately. It'll take it because of the intricate nature of these roles. They'll find out, maybe at the 6 month or 9 month mark, and then they'll start they'll start to get that person out of the way.
And here's what most companies do to let you know. The best companies actually lay off the bottom 10% annually.
Yep.
And here's why they do it. You'll see it at Cisco. It started with GE. The bottom 10% typically have the worst attitude, and they typically do the least amount of work. And what happens is when you have the bottom 10%, it makes the rest of the team work harder, which demoralizes the team, and it makes the really good high-end people actually quit. So when you see someone that's got 5 jobs in 5 years, it's indicative to the hiring manager that you don't want to touch this person. They're a toxic person. Now, the reality is sometimes very good people get laid off or made redundant. It happens to excellent people. Now, the people that get laid off that are good are those working in engineering roles, not architect roles. They're working in back office roles that cost a company money. So make sure you've got someone that's got a real architect background, and they're not 10X certified, because if they're 10X certified, they don't know architecture at all. Real architects, the kind that earn $300,000-$400,000 per year, are focused on their business acumen, their leadership skills, and sales skills. So make sure you've got that. And if not, perhaps we'll always be happy to help you 6 months from now, 9 months from now, or a year from now if you're still struggling.
All right, so we've got a follow-up. We asked this individual what they wanted to do. They said they wanted to become a cloud architect. So please suggest me regarding that, how to start, and what should be the flow. Their previous question was they're completely new. Where should we begin? Okay,
so happy to help you with this. And you could either take our training, which will get you there, or I'll tell you exactly how you could do it another way. And
we got a webinar on Tuesday, Mike.
We've got a webinar on Tuesday, and we'll show you every single step on how to do it.
I'll put that link in the chat box for them.
Put the link in the chat box. Now, if you want to do this on your own, you must understand the architect is not an engineer. I'm going to say this again. The architect is not an engineer. So you're going to need a lot of business skills. If you're not with us, we recommend after college, get an MBA. If you're with us, we will teach you these business skills. You must have the executive communication skill. You must have the business knowledge, the leadership, emotional intelligence, sales, and all those things. What people would consider soft skills are hard skills for the architect. The next thing that we tell you is you need to learn networking, specifically BGP, interior gateway protocols, IP addressing, subnetting, and supernetting. Switching technologies such as VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, spanning tree, rapid spanning tree, etc. Port channel, ether channel, link aggregation groups, you need to understand that. You need to understand NAT, and NAT is not just going to the internet. It's going to be one-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT. You need to understand ARP and proxy ARP and DNS and DHCP. Then you've got to learn those data center technologies such as servers and server virtualization, containers and container orchestration, storage area and networks, load balancers, DNS, business applications like ERP systems, CRM systems, and how they can impact business, communications and collaboration technologies, unified communications, knowledge of next generation firewalls, IDS, IPS, and security policies. And then from there, once you understand the tech, they're just the pieces and parts. They are the ingredients for our recipe. You're going to need training and how to put that together. And understand there's no certification that teaches that. So make sure you get architecture training from someone else as well. We'll cover this in depth. We'll give you a 30-minute presentation, and you can actually ask us questions face-to-face on Tuesday, and I'd love to talk to you. But that's what you need to do. You need to understand this is not a tech position. This is a business exec / tech position. You've got to get those business skills.
Wow. I like that. I like that, Mike. I didn't have to cut you off. Wow. All right. See, Mike can follow instructions.
I have a vocal cord injury, so my team is working hard to make sure I don't speak too much.
Sorry, I'm over here watching the timer and not watching. All right. Let's get to the next one. And if it's okay with you guys, I'll start off on answering the next one. I'd like to hear each of your thoughts. So Paul says, how's the hiring trend these days for cloud architect jobs with the huge layoffs going on in the tech industry? Are existing cloud architects impacted by this? Thanks. So, of course, we don't know exactly which roles that are being laid off, but because they're never going to release that specific of information. But the most likely roles that are always the first to be laid off are the cost saving, the ones that can eliminate cost for the organization and expenses. The architect is a revenue generating position, not a expense. So at this point, safe to say that architects, existing working architects, are most likely not being impacted as much as other roles are. Now, of course, if companies are doing layoffs, they are usually announcing hiring freezes at the same time, which do, in the immediate term, affect all positions. That's just the nature of how it works. And then once they do begin to hire, or if they don't ever stop hiring, guess what roles they're hiring? The revenue generating roles. So in this current situation, in the past, I was going to say month, but I don't even think a month, 2 weeks. I think it's been like the past 2 weeks that all of it started happening. The layoffs that have been happening are most likely not architecture roles because architects generate revenue. Obviously, I can't say for certain it's 100%, but the hiring freezes that companies are announcing are impacting every position, just because when they do that, it's immediately just everything across the board. They're not hiring, but then as soon as they start hiring, they bring in those revenue generating positions, such as architects. We've personally been reached out to and contacted by many engineers, cloud engineers, DevOps engineers, software engineers. They're the ones that are impacted immediately. So, Alonzo or Mike, if you'd like to add anything to that.
I'm going to add to this because I've got a lot of experience in this.
Right.
First, I've been hired during hiring freezes. And in the past 2 weeks, I've actually gone through and provided references for my people that actually interviewed. I had one person without a tech background that went on an architect interview and was offered a CIO position. And very impressive guy. And I had another person where he took our cloud engineering program, but I told him he must focus on his leadership skills and sales skills and executive presence because I was worried about the economy. And he just got offered a solution architect position, so I just did his thing. So the answer is people are still getting hired. And I've been hired during hiring freezes. What's going to happen and what you're going to see is selective hiring in architects. And you're also going to see layoffs of engineers. Now, generally speaking, but not always, the people that are getting laid off, the companies are happy to get rid of. And they're doing this to basically improve the output, the morale of the team. And they will selectively hire salespeople. But your cloud engineers are going to be laid off first, and some of them are actually going to be good. So what happens is, and it happens in every industry, people always need more sales reps and architects during bad times. And here's the reason: when people have less money, they're less likely to spend. So companies need people that sell, and architects are a critical part of the sales team. But what you'll see happening is the engineering positions are going to be outsourced to lower cost parts of the world. Lots of highly educated people in Africa, lots of highly educated people in India, lots of people that can do the engineering for a fifth of the cost. Now, the reality is when somebody's paid a fifth of the cost, they're generally more wealthy than they would be in the US or the UK because the cost of living is so low by comparison. So companies can hire people that are so excited and so motivated to work. You know, I could live on a fifth in my home country in Greece than I could in Florida. And if I was paid half or a third, I'd be a wealthy person. So what you're going to see, I see, and I usually see it in these times, is engineering moving out. Now, Paul, how concerned are we about engineering? We actually paused taking students into our engineering program until we see what's going on. Because while I believe that architects will still be getting hired, or if they're not getting hired, they'll be hired as soon as the economy stabilizes a little bit. And the reality is the business cycles do this. There's constantly up and down. And it takes a year, 8 months to a year to become a great architect anyway. So we feel our students upon graduation are going to be rock solid. So architecture, I feel good about. Sales roles, I feel good about. I wouldn't Engineering roles, I think, are going to be really tough. I see a lot of engineers that are going to be moved to the side, and they'll be outsourced to other lower cost parts of the world where you can find somebody that's willing to work, excited to work, and very capable.
Alonzo, I think you were telling me about something that you read about. Yeah. I don't know if you want to chime in with that information.
Yeah, I think it's definitely relevant, Chris. And Paul asked, that's just, you're worried about the layoffs, but let's think about the people who are already employed. Now, we just ran across an article that we always discuss in the mornings about technology and updates, but whatever. There's a cloud service provider that they're laying off low performers. They're laying off cloud architects, solution architects who are not doing the job effectively. They are laying them off. So making sure from your perspective, not only is it that it's mandatory to have the tech experience, the competency, the presentation skills, business acumen, exo relevancy, soft skills, that gravitas, you actually have to really push yourself to keep moving upwards in excellence, in performance, and capability to be able to rally the troops. They need a magnetic force in all their teams that are the bottom line. You have to be competent. That's the standard. But now in our day and age, you have to push the envelope. You have to be excellent in everything that you do. So once you become and you get to that goal of becoming a cloud architect, push forward, continue to grow the skills, continue to be competent, continue to be comfortable being uncomfortable by learning things that you don't know, to be able to excel at things that you don't think you can do, so that once you're able to excel incrementally into new levels of excellence, that's how you're going to be able to solidify your presence. Because at the end of the day, regardless of what the economy is looking like, they want competent, excellent people, and they want those who can generate money. And you're going to be in a great space once you continue to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah, so great. Yeah, being able to bring in what is necessary will keep you in a safe position. In case anybody notices, I got a timer. All right. Let's see. So this question, I found the link to this program in our Cloud Heroes Africa group. That's awesome. So Cloud Heroes Africa is a group, obviously, that is in Africa, that a lot of our program participants volunteer and offer their services to help individuals in sub-Saharan Africa towards their dream of becoming cloud hired. So their question is, I am new to the cloud. Will it be possible for me to have a job remotely?
Well, let me tell you this. I've been remote as an architect since 2001. We love Cloud Heroes Africa. My very close friend Samo Shang and I are very, very close, and I periodically come and talk to you guys as well. I actually hired 2 people out of Cloud Heroes Africa that actually work for Go Cloud Careers because it's such a group, especially with our students coming in and helping out. So the answer is yes. Now, I'm not going to pretend that it's going to be anywhere as easy in Cameroon to get a remote job as it would be in the US, the UK, or Europe. But if you're good enough, and you're really good enough, the world will take notice. You're out there creating some extraordinary content, the world will really, really, really take notice. Especially cloud engineering, the world will really take notice. We're seeing a lot of expansion in Cameroon. We're seeing a lot of expansion in Nigeria, and an incredible amount of expansion actually in South Africa as well. So, the answer is yes. You've got opportunities there. Keep doing what you're doing. Either with Cloud Heroes Africa, what we do is at a different level. We really play at that elite level, but we love Cloud Heroes Africa. They're good friends. We try and make sure we contribute. 50 members of our organization actually volunteer there just to try and make this mission of providing free at least cloud certification training available in sub-Saharan Africa.
All right. So I'm going to go a little bit out of order, only to give Mike a break on his voice. Let's see. So Jimmy asked, are there any books that you recommend reading for the cloud architecture program? I have zero tech experience. So cloud architecture is not something that can be taught in a book. The same way that playing basketball or playing football can't be taught in a book. It's something that you have to do, and you have to watch people do. You have to observe. It's not something that you can read in a static environment and learn how to do.
Or while you're sleeping.
Or while you're sleeping. We've had some individuals. To be fair, there are studies that show that there are some things that can be learned while you're sleeping.
This ain't it.
This ain't it. This is not it. I know people say ain't a word, but this ain't it. So this is something that you actually have to actively be taking part in and doing. And if you're new, you can't actively do it by yourself. So it's something that which is one of the reasons why our training, our development programs are group based, because we have to do it together. You have to do it with others. You have to see others doing it to learn it, and you have to be able to ask the questions about why. Because even if you're reading a book and they explain why, you're probably still going to have a question of why. You know, that the kid that always asks, but why? And you give them an answer, but why? But why? That's what we encourage. Is we encourage that inquisitive nature, and this books just don't allow that. Now, there are plenty of books that are out there for emotional intelligence, soft skills, you know, thinking, cognitive, blah 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 blah. There's all kinds of books about that stuff. But as far as architecture goes, that's just not something that can be learned in a book. Anyone else want to chime in on that?
I'm going to add to that. So, Jimmy Henry, imagine you want to be a good chef. Now, I could give you a cookbook that says, here's how to cook an omelet. That's not a chef. Now, you could cook an omelet. The problem is, to be a really good chef, you need to understand which foods pair with which foods, which ingredients go with which ingredients, how to present it, and how to do it. That's the art, and you need to be taught that. You know, I used to practice internal medicine, which is just as much an art as a science, and you cannot learn internal medicine out of a book. Now, you can learn individual systems out of a book, just like you can as an architect. You can learn about block storage out of a book. You sure can, and you should. But how do you put the pieces and parts together? That's why doctors do a 4-year clinical rotation after they're done school, and they do clinical rotations in school. It's the practice element. So Jimmy Henry, you know, we do architecture training 2 times per week for a full year with people, where we give business cases and scenarios and make people actually design things together. You can't learn architecture from a book. You need architecture training. It's just, you can't learn to become a pilot without getting in an airplane either. And this is one of those situations you need to be trained by real architects.
Totally agree. You can't learn how to parachute by reading a book or
by yourself.
No, not by yourself either. You know, you gotta you need active hands-on experience to do that.
Yep. Okay, Mike. This is an opportunity for you to practice conciseness here. But it's also one that we really need to address.
Bliss, as a cloud engineer, you've been laid off. What's my advice? I'm going to give you a couple key pointers what to do. First, I would try to upgrade my skill set into something that includes a sales element, like architecture. I would get some training, and I would be less sensitive to the cost of the training, and here's the reason why. A good architect, an average architect earns $600 a day. A good one earns $1,200 a day. So every month that you're not working could cost you $12,000 to $24,000 of lost income. So it's better for you to pay a couple $1,000s to get hired sooner than to wait 4 months to get your next job and lose $50,000 to $100,000. So that would be my first thing. The second thing that I would tell you is, please do not make a post on LinkedIn that says, I just got laid off. Who's interested in me? And Bliss, here's the reason. You may be the world's greatest cloud engineer. I'm going to believe you are. I truly do. But the reality is this. Most companies lay off the bottom 10% every single year. So if you go to LinkedIn and say, hey, I've been laid off, who's interested in me? And you get a bunch of likes and comments, you're effectively signaling the hiring managers not to actually hire you. So I'd like you to do this instead. Optimize your LinkedIn profile for what you want. Get help from someone like us on branding for your LinkedIn profile to make the world come to you. And start with that. So quietly work your network. Call the people you know. I'm looking for something new. I'm not overly thrilled with what I'm doing. First thing, and do that. Now, the next thing is, if you do want to make a post on LinkedIn, do not say, I need help. And do not make it about you. When it comes to selling a product, Bliss, it's what you can do for your customer. Imagine trying to sell a car and saying, I'd like to take your money, sir or ma'am. Now, the reality is when you sell a car, they are taking the person's money, but they can't sell a car that way. They can talk about the reliable transportation the person will have, how good it'll feel with the nice warm leather seats with the heaters and the massagers in there so your back's not going to hurt when you have chronic back pain. So if you're going to take to LinkedIn, you can say, I'm looking for a new role. I have expertise in X, Y, Z things, and I want to help you and your organization be more successful. You'll get a very, very, very different response by doing it that way, a substantially different response. So, those are some of the things that you want to do, but, there's also other things that are really important for you to do. I want to make sure you go build your brand. Now, when it comes to who gets hired and who doesn't, Bliss, let me give you a secret. It's not about your tech skills. Whoa, what? So I've spoken to about 5,000 to 6,000 hiring managers, and they say, Mike, look, I not only want someone that can actually do the job, but I want someone that's emotionally intelligent with great communication skills and soft skills and energy, enthusiasm, passion. So there's that. Now, Bliss, I'm assuming you didn't. But if you're one of those people that went to TikTok, and I'm assuming you didn't, and talked about how much you didn't work, or you made negative posts about your employer, or negative anything about anybody, remove that. You need the world to see you as strong, vibrant, capable, and positive. So show the world your positive energy. If you're really good at what you do, write content, create a post. And in the post, write an article. Talk about a cloud engineering problem that's sophisticated. Maybe you worked with a large client, and the large client, you needed high performance storage, but on the cloud, it's really challenging because block storage is so slow. Maybe you needed a RAID array of 30 EBS volumes or something like that to make it work. Talk about how to optimize storage performance or something you know. So really go out there and show that you're not like the rest. Show your attitude, energy, enthusiasm, and passion. A lot of people are afraid to work right now. They go on an interview and they say, what's the work-life balance? They're escorted out of the room. Show why you're the best and why companies need you.
All right. So they asked a follow-up. In addition to that, if I've already made a post on LinkedIn that I've been laid off, delete it.
Trash it now.
Delete it.
Stop what you're doing right now and take care of that.
So go to that post and delete it. Just delete it. That's all you need to do. Just delete it.
And any other platforms that you communicated that to, trash them out as well.
Yep. And if you've got that little green open to work thing on your profile, remove it.
And you want to do it for the following reasons. When it comes to exercising influence, the principle of scarcity is very important. The best way I can describe it is when you have money and you go to the bank and say, I'd like a loan. How much money would you like, sir? But if you don't have any money, they don't. So show that you're in demand and show that you're needed to remove that little green thing and go out there and cultivate it yourself.
All right. So let's see. All right. I'm sure we have differing thoughts on this one, so this should be fun. CC Lemon, Mike, what do you think about speed reading? I recently saw a YouTuber like Jim Quick talking about speed reading a lot, but it seems hard to business or tech articles. Why would you want to? That's my question. Why would you want to speed read?
Do you want to do it fast or do you want to do it right?
Right. If you Mike, and the reason I say that we're going to have different responses, Mike can do it. Mike can do it. I can't. I have to deliberately read. Now, interesting fact, I can't remember why or how this happened, but in high school, we had somebody, there was some third party that was trying to sell, sell like a service or something for reading comprehension to our school. And so we were like a test case or a sample case. Apparently I was the fastest reader with the most comprehension, but I wasn't trying to be the fast reader. I was actually trying to read for comprehension. So interestingly enough, apparently I read fast, but I don't try to. So anyway, back to the thing. Why would you want to speed read? If the reason you're speed reading is because you think you need to get somewhere faster, no, don't do it. If you're speed reading because you can actually comprehend things, sure, do it. But the importance of reading, and I'm going to be going over this in class today, the importance of reading is to read with purpose. Like you're actually taking the time. It's not like watching TV these days. You're actually reading. You actually take the action of reading for a purpose. And that purpose is to learn something. Now, obviously, if you're reading a novel, that's a different type of reading. But what we're talking about here, you're reading with purpose for a reason to learn and comprehend something. And speed reading may not be the answer for you. That's my 2 cents. Off my soapbox now.
I recommend, focusing on perfection, trying not to slop your way through anything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's when you can speed read. And I used to read 1,000 pages a day, and I got good at figuring it out. But here's when I speed read, and here's when I don't. If I want to read a business book, and they give you the nuts and bolts, and then they follow it up with a 5-page story because they think the story is going to help make it interesting, I'll skip the story and focus on the facts because the story doesn't help me. But when it comes to reading a technical thing, I read it from head to toe. When it comes to reading a financial thing, I read it from head to tail, or whatever you want to call it. Start at the top and work all the way through. Because the reality is, and I worked with a couple students yesterday on a healthcare thing, and I said, whoops, see this thing? What would happen? And they said, well, people would die. I said, so you can't skip those little details. When I learned many years ago, I learned that the devil is in the details. And if you miss those details, the whole thing falls apart. So focus on excellence and not shortcuts.
And to be fair so what Mike is saying when he's reading the parts that he skips, he didn't start by immediately skipping those parts.
Mm-hmm.
He started to skip them because he realized, that doesn't add any value for me.
Right.
So he's learned to recognize that what's about to come has no value to him because it's just exposition. Now, other people, they may need that exposition. So it's up to you to determine if the way it's presented is relevant for you. So, Mike doesn't need that exposition and that storytelling to be able to get the point across.
Right.
A lot of people don't. Some people do need the story and the exposition to get the comprehension and the point across. So it goes back to you. Same as people asking, how long should I practice this or study that? However long you need to. How should I read? The way that works best for you. So, Alonzo, you got any thoughts on the?
Well, I definitely, it's a case by case on how quickly are you able to not only read but comprehend and establish that competency mentally. I think of, from my previous project management background, as a consumer, would you want someone to quickly lay down a foundation and build your house on top of it? You want your 5-bedroom, 6,000 square foot home to be built in 30 days. I wouldn't. There's certain things that need to be established. There's certain things that need to happen first, and it takes time for that to be established. The foundation needs to be set. It needs to be dried. It needs to be established before you drop the whole house on it, and ultimately it will crack the foundation. So I liken that to being able to ensure that you don't want to rush the cake. You don't want to eat wet batter before throwing the frosting on there. So it's all about the competency. It's all about establishing and making sure that you know what you're talking about, why you're talking about it, and when you're going to be able to establish that competency throughout the cloud architecture. So back to what Mike and Chris has mentioned, ensure that you have the competency, but until you know how you're able to retain that information, I wouldn't jump headlong into quick speed reading. Just make sure you understand the competency.
Yeah. So we've got a follow-up, well, not a follow-up, but another question from Bliss. Do you offer security architecture in your program, and what are the steps to go about it? Yes, every single architecture, every
business case.
And
yes.
we're so good at it that we got Delroy Bad a cloud security architect job, and he turned down 3, and he never worked in tech before he joined us. His last job was an EMT on ambulances. We recently got Robert Welch, a wonderful cloud security architect, a really good one. We're pretty great at creating cloud security architects in our cloud architect career development program. Same program. I have an enormously heavy security background from working with banks and healthcare organizations, as well as internet service providers. So we teach I don't like to use certifications as a bearing, but one of my students gets CISSP level training or greater as part of our main training. Some people decide to focus more on that and go deeper into security, and we love that.
All right, so we went a little over time. I let Mike have a little bit more fun than he was supposed to have. But it's time for us to wrap up. Got to save Mike's voice. I got to get ready for class coming up. And Alonzo's got to go do whatever Alonzo does.
Lots to do, lots to build, lots of great things happening.
Hey, if you want to talk to Alonzo, call that number.
Please give me a call. I am always available to have conversations about how we can increase your cloud architect opportunities. So join me, give us a call so that we can get you signed up as a student.
Yep. So before we wrap up the show, I just want to remind everybody we do have the webinar next Tuesday, the free How to Get Your First Cloud Job or How to Become an Ultimate Cloud Architect webinar. I think I like that, How to Become an Ultimate Cloud Architect. I like that. But we've got that coming up on Tuesday. So make sure you register for that. We'll go into greater detail on exactly what you need to do to reach your goal of becoming a cloud architect. The next thing, I just want to remind everybody that you can get the exam or updated AWS exam guide as well. Make sure you grab that copy. And let's see, of course, also make sure you're following Mike and Go Cloud Careers on LinkedIn so that you stay up with everything. And of course, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell button. Help us reach the challenge or the goal that I just came up with out of the blue like an hour and a half ago, that we're going to reach 40,000 subscribers by next Friday. I know Mike doesn't like to push that too much, but I'm like, yeah, let's get us to 40K. I like a nice round number. So hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell button. Make sure you're following us on LinkedIn so that you stay up with everything. And I hope y'all have a great Friday and a great weekend.
Take care, everybody.
Bye, everybody.